When they mentioned this item, I said, that's the kookiest thing I've ever heard of. I have no idea how to use that. And then I thought, oh, I have an idea to use that. And then I thought, hey, that's kind of genius. So it went just like 1, 2, 3, just like that.
Dale Rob's Reviews, hey, 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 helping you camp and ride all day. Dale Rob's Reviews, oh yeah, it's true. He's trying it all so you don't have to.
Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Rob. We are inside Big Rob's van. I am spending the day at the park today. I've been outside walking around and I brought some food and a new item to test. So I was going to do this out on a picnic table, but the wind is nonstop blowing, and so all you would hear while we were outside would be the wind blowing on my microphone. So I've come inside the van to do today's test. Now, this company is VASG, and they sent me an item to review. When they mentioned this item, I said, that's the kookiest thing I've ever heard of. I have no idea how to use that. And then I thought, oh, I have an idea to use that. And then I thought, hey, that's kind of genius. So it went just like 1, 2, 3, just like that. Anyway, the thing that they have sent me to test, they call a smart lunchbox. Now, what in the world is a smart lunchbox? Well, if you grew up like I did, I'm Gen X, so I went to school and I took my lunchbox. I was lucky enough to have metal lunchboxes, and then later we moved to those plastic ones because I think one too many kids got conked on the head. You wouldn't want to conk somebody on the head with this thing. So we all took our lunch, but we all know what the problems of those lunchboxes are. I mean, they'll keep your food sort of warm, or they'll keep it sort of cool, and they're definitely not going to heat things up for you. Well, a smart lunchbox combines the old idea of a lunchbox with new modern technology. It is a kooky idea on paper, and then the more I read about it, I thought, this is a really pretty smart idea. So let's take a look at this thing and see what all you get. Right off the bat, you get this insulated carrying bag, so you can put food or leftovers or whatever you're going to heat up in here, and it will keep it moderately cold. It's not going to keep it frozen, but it would keep it cool, and I think it would keep it cool enough, long enough, like if you're going to make lunch. So maybe you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to take your leftovers or something. It would keep it cool inside there until it's time to eat. Now, it is important to note that this particular device is not a oven. It is not going to cook food. It is going to heat food. So you're not going to put raw meat in this thing or something like that and cook it, but you can put canned items or refrigerated items and things like that and heat them back up. So one of the other things that this comes with, first of all, it comes with a strap, which I took off because I would always just carry it with this handle, so I already ditched the strap. It comes with this cute silverware. I haven't actually opened this because, and by the way, I haven't used this yet. I've only watched people do it online, but I had to open it up. I wanted to open it up to charge it. So anyway, I want to open this silverware thing. It's got tape on it, but this is not the cutest little silverware. By the way, fortunately for me, I'm a kleptomaniac, and so every time I go to a restaurant, I steal the plastic silverware. So if your hands and mouth are smaller than mine, then this might work for you. But I think I will probably ditch that too pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and unzip this and get the lunchbox itself out. We'll take a look at this. You can see the, you've got your insulation Reflectix material here on the inside again. Well, I didn't snap the top down. That's not wise. So this is, oh, that's what I heard. So I heard something beep, and I thought the GoPro turned off for a second. But no, it was this because I accidentally had this turned on in the house. So ideally, this would be, hopefully I didn't run the battery down. No, the battery's still good because I haven't been cooking anything. So there's little snaps here on the lid. That's the first thing. So you'd just be able to carry this like a lunchbox. Now, the outside of this is plastic. This handle is plastic. This lid is plastic. So I don't know that I would want to drop it too many times, at least not on the top. But then again, if it's full of food, you would want to drop it anyway. So you've got these two lids or two snaps that come off the top. And then you have this. Now, this is your cooking vessel, let's say. So you've got this metal tray. I think it said it's hold 1.2 liters. And it's got this little airtight plug. Now, I watched a couple of reviews, and this seems to confuse everybody because it looks like it has a little printout, like at the dial, you would use it to time your food or your clock. I don't think it does any of that. I think it's just, I mean, like if you, I guess what the idea for this is if your mom set your lunch for you and was like, you need to heat your food for 30 minutes, and she could turn this to 30, and then later when you use this device, you would say, oh, and you would set it to 30. But it just seems like such a strange, I don't know that anybody, it's hard to come up with a use, for an adult, it's hard to come up with a use case scenario. But this is what you're gonna put your food in, this metal tray here. You're gonna put this lid on top of that, and it kind of sits in there and makes a little seal. And then you press this down, and it creates this little airtight seal in here. So now this thing is kind of airtight. I mean, this is sealed on. You kind of have to pull it off. So you're gonna put your food in this, you're gonna put this in this, you're gonna put the lid on that, and then we're gonna mess around with the electronics. Now, I checked online, and there's different brands that are making these smart lunch boxes, and there's different models. And so some of them allow you to change the temperature, or some of them allow you to do different things. This one is probably the simplest one to operate in one way. In another way, it's a little confusing. So the reason I say it's a little confusing is because you have a power button, you have this M mode button, and then you have up and down arrows, and that's it. So I've said it in some of my previous reviews, I really like when devices, everything is clearly labeled and everything has separate buttons, mostly because I don't use these things every day. I wouldn't use this thing every day to cook my lunch. Now, if I did, I'm sure I would memorize, what all these different buttons did and things like that. But if you're not going to use it all the time, instead of keeping your silverware in this thing, I'd probably keep the owner's manual because it explains what all the things do. Now, the good news is there really aren't that many options. Once you turn this thing on, you're going to tap the M button, and that's for mode, and you're going to cycle through 3 or 4 different modes. First of all, there is a timer or schedule mode, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Then there is a mode for heating things. I forget which order they're in, but I think there's one for heating things that are already at room temperature, and that runs for about 30 minutes. Not for about, that runs for exactly 30 minutes. Then there's one to heat up refrigerated items or cold items. Now, I don't think you're going to cook like a frozen burrito. I don't think it's going to do that. But if you had leftovers or something that was chilled from your refrigerator, maybe from a freezer in your van or your car, something like that, that's the setting you're going to use. And the only difference is instead of 30 minutes, that goes for 60 minutes. Now, there's a third setting that allows you to set it on any time in intervals of 10 minutes from 20 to 60. So you can set it for 20, 30, 40, 50, or 60 minutes. Now, we've already covered 30 and 60. So really, it gives you the option to heat things for 20, 40, or 50, right? And then the final one is this little mode that I was a little confused by because the display just has a thing going around. I thought, well, maybe this is for cooking insects that fly or something. But no, what that mode is doing is keeping your food warm. So after you've cooked something, you say, cook this for 30 minutes, then it will cut down to a lower heat and just keep that food warm for you for another 30 minutes. So let's talk about that scheduling mode for just a second. Now, I think this is really interesting. You can schedule when you want this thing to turn on. I think that's such a neat idea. So, for example, if I were going out in the van for the day, I could put my food in here. Like, let's say I put, some soup or something like that. You put it in here, and then you could schedule and say, hey, turn on at 10:30 in the morning, or let's say turn on at 11:30 in the morning, and then at noon, you'd go, oh, it's time to eat. Maybe you set an alarm on your phone and go, hey, my soup's ready. And then it comes on. Now, I don't think you're supposed to do that while it's in this soft pack. I don't know if I would do that because the outside of this gets a little warm from what I've seen. So maybe you can, maybe you can. I didn't see anything on the instructions that said what not to not do that. So you try it and let me know if it catches on fire. So, we're going to give this a try. I want to try it on the 30-minute mode, and I just happened to pick up something on my way to the park today. Uh-oh. SpaghettiOs. I love SpaghettiOs when I was a kid. Did you like SpaghettiOs? I love SpaghettiOs. So, we are going to, I'm going to turn this upside down just so you can see this here. I'm going to pop that lid off right there. We're going to open our can of SpaghettiOs here. Have they changed SpaghettiOs? Let me know down in the comments. Do you think SpaghettiOs taste and smell the same way they did when we were kids? Have they changed the recipe? I don't know. I don't want to get all my SpaghettiOs. You know what I'm going to do? There's my stolen silverware. All right, let's get all my, I remember a cartoon when I was a kid. Do you remember Family Circus cartoon? And there was the kids and it was Dolly and she was writing a school homework paper. And she said, does spaghetti start with a P or a B? Is it Puschetti or Buschetti? All right, so we'll take a look right here. We've got our SpaghettiOs here with little meatballs. I didn't even know it had meatballs in it. I guess I should have noticed with the guy's face. It definitely has meatballs on it. So, all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this back over. We're going to put this, actually what we're going to do is we're going to put the lid back on here. We're going to press it down like that. We're going to put this in here. We're going to take the lid, snap that on, and then what we're going to do, we're going to turn this on. We're going to set the mode to 30 minutes, and then we're going to kick back and relax while this cooks my lunch. Well, not cooks, heats up my lunch. So as we said, the first thing we are going to do is hold down this power button, which will turn it on, and you can see it flashing. This is in the schedule mode, but we're going to hit the mode here. That's 1 hour, that's 40 minutes, and that is 30 minutes right there. So we're just gonna let this thing do its job and see how it goes. So as this cooks, we can see the timer counting down on the front, but to the left of the timer, you can also see the battery indicator. So the battery indicator you can see is fully charged right now. We've got 4 lines on the battery. I have heard, I don't know yet, we're going to look and see what the battery looks like after 30 minutes of warming something up. I believe, you know what, I don't want to say. I don't want to say it quite yet. Let's take a look at what it looks like after this is done, warming this up after 30 minutes. So while our SpaghettiOs are cooking, let me tell you a couple things about the battery inside this. The battery is a 20,000 milliamp battery. There is a USB-C charging port on the back, and that is a in and out port. So in theory, you could charge your phone if you are in a pinch. I always say in a pinch because nobody's carrying around a lunchbox to also charge their phone. But if you got in a situation where your phone was dead and you needed some power from somewhere, you could definitely plug into this thing and get that. Or if you're really super hungry, you could put your phone inside the thing, heat it up, and then eat it. While this is cooking, I was touching the back of this just to see if I could tell if it was on or if it was super hot or anything like that. And what I will say is it is barely warm on the outside. I mean, it's on to the point where I could tell that it's on, but it's not hot. The outside of this is not hot. The outside of this is not even really warm. It has the warmth of a glove that someone else was wearing a few minutes ago, and you pick it up and you go, I think someone might have been wearing this glove. Like, it's a little warm on the inside. That's what this feels like on the outside. So far, because there's no ventilation coming out of this or anything. In fact, you got an airtight thing inside of an airtight thing. I don't see why you couldn't cook it inside this and keep something on. Again, I don't see anything. You need to double check the instructions. I don't want to recommend that, but I don't see the harm in it, to be honest with you. Because that inside container is airtight. I mean, it makes a seal. I do think you could put something like Campbell's soup or something like that inside there and heat it up. So let's talk about use cases for this. So people that stay in their vans full-time or even part-time like I do, most of those people have ways to prepare food. If you've watched enough of my videos, you know that right below this table, I have a microwave. Now, a microwave takes a lot of electricity. I bought about the smallest microwave I could find online, and it's a 1,000-watt microwave. So you have to have a battery that can run at minimum a 1,000-watt device. And my old battery was 1,000 watts. So every minute that I used this microwave, it was taking off that much electricity. I mean, it's a power hog, right? So a microwave is not the solution for everybody. What most people do, if you're living in a van, something like that, you probably have some sort of propane solution, a propane stove or a butane burner, something like that. Okay. So if you're in a van, maybe this is not something that you need, right? Let's talk about people that might need this. If you're living in a traditional vehicle, and I know there's a lot of you guys out there, a lot of you people have reached out to me and said that you watch the channel and you've watched some of my reviews and watched my adventures. There are people living in normal cars. There are people living in sedans and pickups and all different types of vehicles that don't necessarily have a setup like this where I have the room to have a microwave and a gigantic battery to run a microwave. If you're living in a vehicle like a smaller car or something like that, I think this might work for you. Now, again, you're not going to buy frozen food and cook it in this particular model, okay? But what you could do is go to, Aldi's or Dollar General or wherever, you pick up cheap cans of stuff. That's where I got my SpaghettiOs, and have those, and then you could heat that up. So you're not eating cold SpaghettiOs out of a can. You're not eating cold soup out of a can. You can heat that stuff up. Now, I will say that electricity or heat is one of the most expensive things to create with electricity. What I mean by that is it takes a lot of electricity to generate heat. That's why we don't all have heaters in our vans, right? So I believe what I'm going to be able to do is probably run this 1 or 2 cycles per charge. Now, if you're in a vehicle and you're driving around, you could charge this up get a USB adapter for your 12-volt battery or for your 12-volt accessory port or something like that. And you could charge this thing up, and that wouldn't be an issue. Or if you have a place where you could go in and charge, do something like that, then you'd be able to, keep this thing charged up. But it is going to go through the battery, a 2,000 or 20,000 milliamp battery. I don't think you're going to get that many cooking cycles out of this. Again, we'll check what the battery says at the end of this 30-minute heating. So we're going to check 2 things. We'll check what the battery is, and then we're also going to check and see if the SpaghettiOs are warm enough to eat, and if those meatballs are warm all the way through too. That's a good thing to test. So, all right, well, the anticipation is killing me. We are at 1 minute left, so I'm excited. Are you excited? I've never been so excited about a can of SpaghettiOs with meatballs before. I've got the spoon out. I think I'm gonna need a fork. Oh, a little salt package too there. I'm gonna need a fork for these. Okay, And, oh, so now, if you can see this, let me get my phone and I'll show you. It has switched into the heating mode. And so now, you know, before I thought it was just, this is for heating insects, but this is keeping my food warm. So it's all done. So let's go ahead and take this thing out and see what we've got. I think it makes most sense just to turn this off. Now, I should say that if you just tap the power button, it resets everything. So if you've got it into a mode that you don't want it in or something like that, all you got to do is turn on that power, or just tap that power button there. I don't care about all that. I don't want to do that. I want to get this out. Let's go. Come on. I'll mess with that later. Okay. Oh, I immediately feel heat. I immediately, I'm going to turn that off. Can't tell if I saw smoke or if that was just my imagination. I would say the pan is warm to the touch, but not, you know, the lip is holdable. The sides of this are pretty warm. The sides I would not want to hold for too long, to be honest with you. Let's take this off here. Oh my goodness. We have warm SpaghettiOs. I can tell how warm they are. As I'm stirring this, I could tell you that I do see smoke coming off of this. So this is definitely warmed up. Now, you guys in the comments have told me how much you love videos where you can hear me eating. So I'm only going to take 2 bites of this. But the first bite I'm going to take is of the SpaghettiOs themselves. So let's just get a little spoon here and let's see what the heat is like. Perfectly fine. Again, I can tell you, I can see a little bit of smoke rising off of this. So, yeah, definitely that's heated up. But let's grab one of these meatballs here. I sound like an old man. When I was a kid, I didn't have no meatballs. My SpaghettiOs. There you go. A meatball. It's warm all the way through. Not piping hot. It would not burn my mouth, but it's definitely warm and warm enough to eat. So, again, use case scenario of this, not cooking frozen foods. That's not what this is meant for. But if you're going to work, if you go to a job and you don't, for whatever reason, don't have access to a microwave or something like that, this would work for you. Oh, you know what we didn't do is I want to take a look at the battery life here. We're going to turn this on one more time and see what the battery life shows. So as you can see here, we're down to about 2 bars of battery life. So we used about half the battery cooking our SpaghettiOs for 30 minutes. So if that holds out, I would say it is good for 60 minutes of heating. So if you're cooking something that's refrigerated, like you take leftovers from your refrigerator or something like that, you're looking at 1 use before you have to recharge it. If you are cooking canned goods like SpaghettiOs with meatballs, you are looking at 2 uses before you have to recharge it. So that's definitely something I would keep in mind. Again, if you are, you know, if maybe you're somebody that works in your vehicle, you're a construction worker or something like that, and you want to have a hot meal in your car instead of having cold sandwiches and stuff all the time, this isn't a bad idea. And if you are living in a vehicle and you don't have another way to heat food up, then this would do it. So not for cooking, definitely for heating, definitely for heating your lunch with you. So thanks for coming along on this ride. I hope you enjoyed this little review. Always, if you like my reviews or if you want to see more van adventures, we've got van adventures coming up. Be sure to subscribe to see my future videos. Always like and leave a comment. Let me know. Actually, here's what I want to know. Do you think the recipe for SpaghettiOs has changed since we were kids? I'm going to eat this pan of SpaghettiOs and find out right now. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Big Rob's Van. I'll see you guys soon. That's enough of that nonsense. Let's get to the eating. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Is that what the... They'll come out, stupid dead joke.